Trump is indicted. Third time's the charm? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell, and is it Groundhog Day? Because I feel like I'm stuck in a time loop. In less than 4 months, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted 3 times. 5 more and he gets a free car wash. Last Tuesday, Special Counsel Jack Smith unsealed the newest indictment against Trump. And the Trump derangement syndrome is through the roof. One D.C. cop turned CNN contributor even said the indictment was akin to the killing of Osama bin Laden. I guess I can see the comparison. I mean, bin Laden also had a bunch of wives that weren't born in America. Just 2 days after the indictment was released, Trump went to Washington, D.C. for his arraignment. The hearing took place just blocks from where the January 6 riots took place, and it was rather quick, lasting less than 30 minutes. I haven't seen the U.S. government move that fast since, well, ever. Not surprisingly, Trump pleaded not guilty and called the indictment political persecution, as well as an attack on ordinary Americans.
This is a very sad day for America. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
Which made everyone in America realize, you know what, you're right. We've lost our way. Let's put politics aside and all come together. Just kidding. As usual, nobody's mind has been changed. You have those who insist that Trump won the 2020 election and want to see him back in office. You also have those who hate Trump and want to see him locked up. People talk about Trump like he's a monster or a messiah, nothing in between. He's like the insane clown posse. You never hear someone say, they're all right, I was into their earlier stuff, but haven't kept up with them. No, you're all in or you're all out. Trump now faces a total of 78 charges, 34 criminal counts for falsifying business records, 40 counts for mishandling classified documents, and 4 new charges for the 2020 election. Trump has almost 3 times as many charges as the Beatles had #1 singles, which is appropriate since yesterday all his troubles seemed so far away. Now he's wondering why they can't just let it be. And if any of you are wondering if there are any mugshots of Trump, no, there aren't, for obvious political reasons. They simply got his fingerprints. But many certainly are hoping for a real mugshot. Even Trump supporters, Trump campaigners are like, yes, please take a mugshot of our guy. Trump's next hearing is scheduled for August 28th, just days after the first Republican presidential debate. The judge randomly chosen for the trial is the Obama-appointed Judge Tanya Chutkan, who has a reputation for handing out tough Capitol riot sentences, which is not good news for Trump. That'd be like if Hillary Clinton were put on trial and the judge was the president of the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Hard to think they're unbiased. The upcoming hearing wouldn't be the first time Chutkan and Trump have crossed paths. In 2021, Chutkan rejected Trump's attempts to block a January 6 investigation from accessing more than 700 pages of records from his White House, and wrote, "Presidents are not kings and plaintiff is not president," which is probably why Trump called for a recusal. For now, Trump has been released on bond with strict requirements. But does this third indictment have actual meat to it? We'll dive in deep after the break. Welcome back. In the latest indictment against Trump, Special Counsel Jack Smith charged Trump with 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. More specifically, the indictment charges Trump of knowingly conspiring to use dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair and obstruct a lawful federal government function, impede the January 6 vote count, and violate the right to have one's vote counted. What it doesn't mention is anything about Trump allegedly inciting insurrection or violence, which is what a lot of Trump critics claim Trump did when the January 6 riots broke out. But don't worry, they'll keep making those claims. Feelings don't care about your facts. The indictment also doesn't accuse Trump of seditious conspiracy, basically trying to topple the U.S. government, though one legal analyst says that charge could be added on later. Now, Trump's lawyers argue that Trump's claims about the 2020 election are protected under the First Amendment right to free speech. There's just one problem. The indictment anticipated that. Knowing that Trump would make that kind of defense, the beginning of the indictment makes it very clear that Trump had the right to speak about the election and make false claims about election fraud. It also asserted that Trump was entitled to challenge the results through lawful means, such as by seeking recounts or audits, or filing lawsuits challenging ballots and procedures. The main thrust of the indictment is that Trump knew that his election fraud claims were false and he acted on them unlawfully. To back its charges, the indictment lists a ton of people who warned Trump that his election fraud claims were false. Many of them were Trump-appointed or Trump-allied. Given that in general those people would have every reason to keep Trump in office, this gives a lot of weight to the idea that Trump had plenty of warnings from his own advisors that his claims were false, but willingly spoke and acted on them anyway. Of course, the indictment is a case against Trump, so if there were any advisors who told Trump that the election was stolen, it wouldn't mention them. And let's remember, back in 2018, even the New York Times was warning that malicious actors could hack voting equipment and make them misinterpret a vote for Donald Trump as one for his opponent, or vice versa. Good thing it turned out to be the most secure election in American history. The indictment lists 6 unnamed co-conspirators complicit in helping Trump, which has led to some serious sleuthing by the media. Media outlets believe that 5 of the 6 include former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, attorney John Eastman, lawyer Sidney Powell, former Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Clark, and attorney Kenneth Chesebro. The indictment claims that Trump and his co-conspirators pushed officials in certain states to ignore the popular vote, disenfranchise millions of voters, dismiss legitimate electors, and ultimately cause the ascertainment of and voting by illegitimate electors in favor of Trump despite knowing that Trump lost. The indictment lists many examples of Trump and his co-conspirators doing these things in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Wisconsin. But potentially the most damning accusation is that Trump and his co-conspirators tried to push Mike Pence into doing what Trump wanted, and that could lead to Trump's downfall. More after the break. Welcome back. So for a long time, Mike Pence kept his commentary on Trump to a minimum. But now that Pence is also running for president next year, the cat's out of the bag and he ain't mincing words. He's distancing himself from Trump faster than he distances himself from an unaccompanied woman when his wife isn't around. His wife's name is Karen? I'm not surprised. Pence said that the 3rd indictment serves as an important reminder that anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States.
At the end of the day, history will hold Donald Trump accountable for his reckless words and actions on that day, and I'll always stand by the truth of that. And the president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes.
I don't know what's more shocking. The accusation Trump asked Pence to reject votes, or learning the collective noun for crackpot lawyers is gaggle. I would have assumed it was an alleged murder of crackpot lawyers. According to the 3rd indictment, Trump's co-conspirators knew that neither the Constitution nor election laws allowed Pence to accept or throw out electoral votes, yet they wanted Pence to do it anyway and declare Trump the winner. When Pence told Trump that there was no constitutional basis for giving himself the authority to reject or return votes, Trump reportedly said, "You're too honest." If true, that would be huge, as it would imply that Trump knew that what he was doing wasn't honest. But there are some grains of salt involved. That testimony comes from a single source, Mike Pence, and he's got every reason in the world to want to take down Trump. Mike Pence even slapped the phrase "too honest" on his campaign merch. The indictment also alleges that Trump used Twitter to pressure Pence, saying he didn't have the courage to do what should have been done. And after riots broke out, Trump tried to exploit the violence by calling to delay the vote certification. The indictment is detailed but pretty concise. I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to read it for yourself, which I encourage. But it is not without its flaws. The entire indictment rests on the assumption that the prosecution can prove that Trump lied, which means they have to prove that Trump did not believe the election was stolen. The heart of the case is what's in Trump's head. Even the Washington Post said so. And that could prove to be a real challenge. Attempting to prove that could also open some, shall we say, interesting doors, including more scrutiny of the 2020 election. Some argue the charges are a stretch. For example, the 4th charge against Trump comes from a post-Civil War statute that was designed to punish the KKK and others who attacked black Americans for exercising their right to vote. Trump never used force or violence to intimidate or prevent people from voting, and he's not being accused of creating fake ballots to dilute votes, so that charge just might not work. There are also those who question the timing of Trump's indictments, saying they always seem to mysteriously materialize one day after incriminating evidence emerges in the Biden probes. Others point out that Trump wasn't the first one to question an election and wonder why he's in trouble for it while Hillary Clinton is not. It's also strange that none of the co-conspirators are facing charges. Proving conspiracy generally includes charging the conspirators? Some lawyers argue this was done to keep it simple and get things moving before the 2024 election. But speaking of the 2024 election, what is this doing to Trump's run? Well, all the indictments seem to only be helping him in polls. And Trump says he only needs one more indictment to win the 2024 election. So good news for him, a fourth indictment in Georgia is expected in a matter of weeks. And this time we might actually get a mug shot. Trump fans will love it, as well as Trump's 2024 campaign. And Trump himself, since he needs just 4 more for a free car wash. Remember, America Uncovered relies on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/America Uncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.